Another day riding this creaky bicycle. This thing makes more noise than that truck from that old 70s TV show. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's the one where every time it opens you see this shitty truck driving and it goes dun 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 dun. Ah, Sanford and Son, that's the show. Yeah, I used to like that show as a kid, watching the reruns of it. But yeah, this bike sounds like the Sanford and Son truck. I haven't had any time to there's a leaf that's been stuck inside between the wheel and the fender for a while, and I haven't had time to take the wheel off to get to it, and it's been driving me up a damn wall. It keeps happening with this specific fender that I got. I keep getting wheels stuck in it. But anyway, so today I wanted to talk about that space on 30th Street and 6th Avenue, since that was the front runner, and that was the one that most of you thought I should get. So I wanted to give you an update on where we're... Oh my god. I forgot, New York City roads are worse than the third world country. It's surprising how often I can forget that, and I ride on them on a regular basis. Oh, Jesus Christ. So they started with a rent of $15,500, and I offered them like 12, and then they offered why are you in the middle of the street doing nothing? Anyway, that guy's just stopped in the middle of the street blocking traffic. It amazes me. Anyway, so they started off with $15,500, I offered them 12, they offered $13,900, I offered them 12, they offered $12,800. I was about to offer them 12 again, but Alan said that if I do that, they will definitely walk away from the table. $12,800 is fair. That brings it to $70 a square foot. $70 a square foot for a retail store in Midtown Manhattan, right by all the trains in Penn Station and the PATH trains. That is beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. And so I'm okay with price. Now, the thing is, we have something called a demolition clause that we're going to have to focus on now. So a demolition clause means that even if they agree to a 10-year lease, that lease can be terminated if they decide to demolish the building and erect a new structure in its place. Now, I know this is a non-standard thing to be in a lease, and I'll let you know how I know it's non-standard. If you listen to the video that I'm going to link below on that 30th Street and 6th Avenue space, you'll hear the gentleman say, this is before he even says it, and by the way, this is a standard clause that's in every lease in every building in New York City. It's in every building, every lease. So once he stopped telling me the information. He didn't give me the actual clause, but he simply told me that it was in every lease. He had then entered salesman mode. And anything that is said to me in salesman mode when dealing with a realtor is something that I must assume to be a lie. So now a demolition clause means they can kick me out, they have to give me notice, and they would give me free rent during that time period. And their offer was, if we say we're going to demolish the building and kick everybody out, you get 6 months of free rent. And that seems nice, and the thing is, well, how am I compensated? And they said that, well, you're compensated by the 6 months of free rent. And it's like, no. They said, okay, fine. We will pay you for the construction money that you put into building the space out. And they would compensate me for the construction that I paid to build the place. That still is not enough for me, and I'll explain why, and you tell me if you think I'm being greedy here. The reason I think that's not enough is because there is more to the expense of moving than simply construction. There's more to the expense of moving than simply construction. So, I have to find a new space. For about a month and a half, my full-time job has been looking for a new space and dealing with New York City lying realtor bullshit. That is a full-time job, believe it or not. So, I'm going to have 2 months of not being productive as a business owner, maybe 6 months, because as I said, to find the store I have now, that took 6 months. I'm going to have 6 months of not being productive as a business owner because I am dealing with New York City realtor bullshit. And that is something that needs to be compensated for, and that is time. I'm going to be looking at spaces for 2 months, that's time. The next thing is having to actually move all of my stuff. Not just having to do construction on a new space, but having to have all of my employees work overtime to move everything so that there's no gap in coverage between old store and new store. That is going to be a nightmare. And that is time and money that needs to be compensated for. And inconvenience as well. So I asked for somewhere in the $150,000 to $250,000 range. Why are you crossing on a red light when there's cars and things that go as fast as cars on the street? Is beyond me. I have to be very careful here because red lights are merely a suggestion. Every now and then I'll see this really fucked up shit where somebody actually has a stroller and they're crossing on a red light and they don't look. It's not that they look and see no cars and they go. They see, they have a stroller, so they have a kid in the stroller, and they don't even bother looking. They just assume that we're going to stop. It's absolute insanity because the kid is not the one that chose to do the stupid thing that's going to wind up killing him. Parented. But anyway, let me just make a right turn signal here to my idea of a right turn signal is sticking my right arm out when I'm moving to the right lane. Shit. Cab driver. What are you doing, cabby? Anyway, so I asked for something around $150,000 to $250,000. And then he said that they balked at that. They said, oh, that's insulting. That's insulting. And the thing is, they did the same thing when it came to rent in the beginning. You know, they said 15.5, I said 12. And Alan came back to me and said, oh, that's insulting. That's insulting. And I think all these landlords do that. You know, they get they act as if this whole my Victorian sensibilities, I'm going to pass out, actually matters or is a thing when it's not. And you know, personally speaking, you know, if you say, hey, I'm signing a 10-year lease with you, but by the way, we're going to have this clause in there that says we can kick you out at any time. Hey, you know what? I find that insulting. I find that to be very insulting. And I think my feelings matter too. So, we're going to be going back to the table with that. Now, I kind of screwed myself in that I said that I'd be all right, I would be considerate of the 150K figure. And that's a figure that they don't even want to consider, by the way. But we're going to go back to the table to that because they do want to get a lease signed this week. And knowing that they want to get a lease signed this week gives me some leverage. But Steve thinks that it should be $250,000. And Steve had actually thought, don't even consider this place at all because they have a demolition clause. Even regardless of the amount of money they offered you, it's not worth it. Now, one of the things I also did with this demolition clause, because they claimed that this is standard, like all the New York City leases have it, is I decided to ask some people that have commercial leases. I said, listen, you know, I'm not interested in knowing exactly what it is you pay for rent. I'm not trying to pry like that. I'm just curious, since they said this is standard in every lease, I'm kind of curious if you got one as well. And they were interested because, you know, they were quite interested in this because they were never told by their brokers about this. So, you know, what if this was hidden in my lease? What if I didn't read it well enough? What if my lawyer missed it? So they looked, no demolition clause. Not as standard as he claims. Now, I'm kind of curious for all of you. What are your thoughts on a demolition clause being in the lease? Do you think that immediately... One second, this train is going to be really loud. That's it. Let's see if we can race the train. This is sometimes kind of fun. There may be too many people on the bridge today to play a game of race the train. Race the train. This is the front car to my left. Oh, and we beat the train. It's always fun to race the train. Anyway, so what I was saying is, I'm kind of curious what your thoughts all are on this in terms of whether I should even consider a place that has a demolition clause. Should I not consider it, even though it's a great deal on a space right in Midtown? It's a store. It fits our business. It doesn't. I don't have to kill a bunch of cockroaches. Should I consider it, but only if they're willing to give me a crazy large payout? Or should I consider it even if they're only willing to pay for this construction? Because one of the other things, besides just the monetary value... Why are you walking in the bike lane? Anyway, one of the things that's important to me, besides just the monetary value, is the inconvenience factor. I worry about the inconvenience factor of having to show them what I paid for construction. I don't want to deal with this situation where I have to give you 80 receipts and you tell me which receipts you accept and which ones you reject. What stuff you think is part of construction versus what stuff you think is part of interior design and moving and blah, blah, blah. No. I want it to be a static figure. So we agreed to a number, and that is the number that you pay. Whatever number it is that we agree to. So, if you decide to end the lease, you give me 100K or 200K or 300K or 75K, whatever the number is. It can't be some sort of clause, which is we get to audit your books and see exactly what you spent on construction, because that's, again, there's more to the cost of moving than simply construction, the inconvenience, the employee work, the work of having to deal with many brokers looking for a new space, but also B, I don't want to deal with disputes on what constitutes construction. Like, I don't want to deal with, what the definition of the word is kind of bullshit. And I can very much see it degrading into that. And so I'm thinking I want it to be a set number. Now, they came back to us after I presented a set number, and they said that they would be open to something that's more amortized. I'm probably saying the word wrong, where the way it works is, let's say that they end my lease 1 year in, they would give me a larger payout than if they end my lease 9 years in. So if they end my lease 9 years in, there would be a lower penalty for the landlord to pay me, the tenant, than there would be if they were to end my lease 3 months after I sign it. And I am open to a sliding scale penalty. That is something that I'm open to. But again, it's got to be something that still is in my best interest at all times. And when it comes to numbers, I'm really curious what numbers you think would be appropriate to ask for and what's inappropriate to ask for. And as I said in the hardball video, I'm done with this bullshit where they say, oh, I'm offended, I'm so offended. I don't care if they wind up being offended. What I care about is that I get a deal that is sensible, that works for me, that's fair. Whether or not they are offended, whether or not they dislike it, whether or not they think I'm mean or a bully, I don't care. You're a New York City landlord. I'm sure you got some thick skin. I'm pretty sure you can take it, at least better than these people would if I squash them with my bike. Why do people do that? Anyway, but I'm pretty sure they can take it. Poor little landlord, poor little owner of his little $8 to $16 million property. I'm hurting on the little guy with my mean offers. I'm done with caring about that. Karen the broker had said that I need to be really cognizant of whether or not I am offending them. And I said, I know you don't care, but you have to care. No, I fucking don't. You're a building owner. You're a landlord. Your entire business is based on making money from pretty much other people doing work. And but above all, your business model is negotiating. Like, the entirety of it is, how much is this space worth, going back and forth, going back and through, spaces and contract terms. And this is your business. This is what you do, is go back and forth on terms. So the idea that I'm not going to submit offers, or I'm not going to advocate for what it is that would work for me because I may offend you, like, get the fuck out of here. No, fuck you. I'm not doing that. And I'm glad that Alan is more open to this. Again, he said that he is, he knows what they're likely to accept and not accept, and he knows what the likely responses are. But he also said, if you go back to that original video, one of the things that he said is that we ask for a concession everywhere that we're supposed to. And he also said, if they're not mad at me, then I'm not doing my job right. And that's the kind of broker that I like, where he